friends, welcome to lecture number 43. In today's class, we will read the last topic of this chapter, that is your moving coil galvanometer. This concept comes in the CBSE exam for a 3-mark question. So be attentive and listen. Let's start the class. Moving coil galvanometer. Okay. So first of all, what a galvanometer is? Let me start. A galvanometer is a basic instrument used to detect the presence of current in a circuit. Okay, the direction of current can also be known from it, the direction of current. Another thing is that, or to check, it can also check whether the current is large or small. Okay. Apart from that, it can also be modified and can be used for measuring current and potential difference. Okay. So it can be modified. To measure current. And what is the instrument that measures current? That is ammeter. That means we can also convert galvanometer into ammeter, or to measure potential difference. Okay, that can be done by converting a galvanometer into a voltmeter. Okay, so basically we can convert galvanometer to ammeter, voltmeter. It is used to measure small amount of current. Now all these things this one wonderful instrument can make. But next question comes, it is based on which principle? 1-mark question comes, what is the principle of a moving coil galvanometer? Okay, the principle. It is based on a current carrying coil placed in a uniform magnetic field, experiences a torque. That we have read in lecture number 42. Okay, torque. If you have not seen that, please go and see that. It will be helpful. Experiences a torque such that current passed is directly proportional to the deflection produced. Okay, so this is the basic principle of the moving coil galvanometer. Next comes the construction part. How can we make it? Construction. In order to explain you the construction part, I will take the help of 2 diagrams. This is the top view of the moving coil galvanometer, and this one is the front view of the moving coil galvanometer. So let me explain you what it is. This is the north pole and the south pole of a horseshoe shaped magnet. These produce the magnetic field, and inside the magnetic field, using a torsional wire, I have suspended a non-conducting cylinder. The red color is the non-conducting cylinder. And how it is being suspended? It is suspended by a torsional wire. Now around that cylinder, a rectangular coil is wound, and you can see the arrow, the brown color arrow here. These are the arrows, they are telling you the direction of the current which is flowing in the coil. Okay, so this is the setup, and it is quite obvious, if the current flows through the coil and it is placed in a magnetic field, it will encounter a torque. So because of that torque, it will try to rotate. but that rotation will be opposed by whom? By the torsional wear. So the torsional wear will also produce a deflecting torque. So what we have to do here? Simple thing, that we have to equate the deflecting torque with the restoring one. Then we can easily find out. Okay. And what about the top view? In the top view also you can see the bar magnet is there, and we have a point, and you can see in the front view I have used a pointer. That pointer rides over a scale which will tell you what is the amount of current which is present in the circuit. So this is the pointer which I have shown you. Okay. Now let us write down the construction parts. In construction, first thing we'll write, it consists of a rectangular coil. It consists of a rectangular coil wound on a non-conducting cylinder suspended by a torsional wear between two horseshoe shaped permanent magnet. Okay, permanent magnet. And in CBSE, if this question comes, you all have to do the top view. This diagram is to be done. Okay, this front view is not required. This is for your understanding, right? Then next point, this type of magnet, this is your horseshoe shaped magnet. This type of magnets are used to give uniform radial magnetic field. This is the importance of the horseshoe shaped magnet. Then a pointer is connected. On the cylinder, which we call it as core. Okay, which deflects once there is a torque. On the coil. Okay, this is the job of the magnet. Then behind that we have a mirror. So basically we have a mirror. A mirror is fixed on the torsional wear by which the deflection of the coil is measured by lamp and scale arrangement. Okay, so this is all about your construction of the this moving coil galvanometer. Okay, after that we will go for the working, where we will require the necessary theory. And this top view, you did not forget to mention that this is your pointer. This is the pointer, and the uniform radial field which I was talking about, which is being produced by the horseshoe shaped magnet, permanent magnets, it is this one. They are uniform radial magnetic field. So kindly draw this top view. Okay, so moving to the next one, that is your working. We will go for the working of this. In the working part, we know that when the current passes through the coil, a torque will act on the coil. Okay, so you can write, when current passes through the coil, passes through the coil, torque acts on it. Okay, and that torque we can call it as the deflecting torque. Deflecting torque. And how much it is? This will be equal to N I A B sine theta. Okay, so these all are your known expressions. And what is N? N is your number of turns in the coil. Number of turns in the coil. Okay, what about I? Current. I is the current in the coil. Okay, then what about A? A is the area of the coil. Area of the coil. Okay, then what is B? B is your magnetic field. Magnetic field. Clear? And what is theta? Theta is very important. If you remember, in my previous class I have told you, theta is the angle between the normal to the plane of the coil and the magnetic field. Okay, so basically theta is the angle between the normal to the plane of the coil, to the plane of the coil and the magnetic field. Okay, now since we are talking about radial field, since the field is radial, since which field? The magnetic field. The magnetic field is radial. It is quite obvious theta will be 90 degree. Okay, at all positions theta will be 90 degree at all positions. So if it is 90 degree at all positions, then sine 90 is how much? 1. Okay, so the torque now becomes NIAB. Okay, followed. Now this torque would deflect the coil through a particular angle. Let that angle be phi. Okay, so the torque tau deflects the coil through an angle phi. Okay, now this will set up a restoring torque. Why? Because we have a torsional wear. So we can write here a restoring torque is set up in the coil due to the torsional wear. Okay, and this torque, it is called as the restoring torque. RT is your restoring torque. So tau will be equal to K phi. Okay, now at equilibrium, your deflecting torque will be equal to your restoring torque. Okay, now what is the deflecting torque? NIAB is equal to K phi. From this, what is the value of phi? It will be NBA divided by K into I. So NBA, K, they all are constants. From that, what I can have, phi is proportional to I. Okay, if you remember what when I was talking the principle, it was told that the current passed is proportional to deflection produced. That is the basic principle, and here also I have shown it. You can see in the derivation here that phi is proportional to I. Okay, now we will just play around this equation, phi is equal to NBA by K into I, and we'll try to generate as many information as we can. So I can write I will be equal to K by NBA into phi. Okay, so I can treat this as a constant. So I can write here I is equal to G phi. Okay, this is one more equation where your G is equals to your galvanometer constant. galvanometer constant. Okay, and what is its value? It is nothing but K by NBA. Okay, so this is all about the working and the derivation required theory for us. Next comes, there are few terms which are associated with this moving coil galvanometer. So the first term which is associated with it is called figure of merit of a galvanometer. In fact, in practical also you are going to find out this figure of merit. Okay, so this is figure of merit of galvanometer. Okay, figure of merit of galvanometer. Now what is this? This is actually defined as the current. It is defined as the current which produces a deflection, of one scale division in the galvanometer and is given by G is equals to I by phi, which is K by NBA. Okay, so this is the figure of merit. The next, another term which is associated, that is called sensitivity of a galvanometer. Next one is sensitivity of a galvanometer. Okay, so this is the sensitivity of a galvanometer. Here we can define this as when are we going to say that the galvanometer is sensitive? That's we'll be speaking about. Okay, so a galvanometer is said to be sensitive if it shows large scale deflection, even when a small current is passed through it, or a small voltage is applied across it. Okay, now if you can see, we can apply a small current or a small voltage. So basing upon that also we have your current sensitivity as well as voltage sensitivity. Okay, so first we will discuss about current sensitivity. Okay, now it is defined as the deflection produced in the galvanometer when a unit current flows through it. Okay, so your current sensitivity is denoted by IS, which is equal to phi by I, and this will be equal to NBA by K. So this is the expression. Clear? Then comes your voltage sensitivity. Okay, we'll discuss about voltage sensitivity. Okay, now this voltage sensitivity is defined as the deflection produced. It is defined as the deflection produced. It is defined as the deflection produced in a galvanometer when a unit potential difference is applied across its ends. Okay, so it is denoted by Vs, which is equal to phi by V, which is equal to phi by V means I into R, Ohm's law, that is equal to NBA by KR. So if you look at both the expressions for current sensitivity and voltage sensitivity, what I can say is finally if I want to establish a relationship, finally my voltage sensitivity is equal to current sensitivity divided by R. Okay, fine. So the next thing that comes is the factors on which the sensitivity of a galvanometer depends. Clear? So we'll give a heading. Next is your factors on which the sensitivity of a galvanometer depends. Okay, the first point is your number of turns. First one, it depends on capital N, that is the number of turns in its coil. Then the second one, it depends on the magnetic field. Okay, what is the third one? Is the area of the coil. Fourth one is the torsional constant. That is denoted by K of the wear. So these are the four parameters or the four factors which are responsible for making a galvanometer more sensitive or less sensitive. Okay, then question comes that how can we increase the sensitivity? So factors by which the sensitivity of a galvanometer can be increased. How can we increase it? Okay, clear? So it is quite obvious that if you look at the sensitivity expression, it is nothing but NBA by K. So N increases, your sensitivity will increase. Increase B, it will increase. Increase your A also, the sensitivity will increase. But what happens to K? K is inversely proportional. So you have to decrease the value of K in order to increase the sensitivity. Okay. So talking about the factors on which the sensitivity of a galvanometer will depend, will be increasing are just by increase the number of turns. Second one, increase the magnetic field. Third one, increase your area of the coil. Fourth one, decrease the value of K. Okay. So this is for the moving coil galvanometer. Now from the very beginning, when you look at the definition, I have told that it is used for converting. The galvanometer can be converted to an ammeter, it can be converted to a voltmeter. So these are the two things which we need to check. How can we convert a galvanometer to ammeter and a galvanometer to a voltmeter? These things we have to do. So the next topic will be conversion of galvanometer into ammeter. Okay, into ammeter. So for this, what we require is, in order to convert this, what all things are required? First, that we require a shunt. We require a shunt, which is basically a low resistance. Okay, low resistance. And this shunt or the low resistance is connected in parallel. It is connected in parallel. Okay. Now it is connected to parallel to whom? I'll show you using a circuit. Suppose we have a galvanometer here. To this galvanometer, you connect a low resistance, that is shunt, parallelly. So this is how you connect it. So this is my shunt. Okay. So what happened? Initially, I have my current I, which is coming, and this galvanometer will take Ig, and the rest current will flow through the shunt, that is I minus Ig. So this whole circuit, galvanometer, when the shunt is connected parallelly, this whole thing will behave like an ammeter. Is it clear? It behaving like an ammeter. Now the next important discussion for this is, what is the value of S here? Shunt. How can you find out the value of shunt? We can find the value of shunt by using a formula. S is equal to Ig divided by I minus Ig into G. Okay. So this is the expression by which I can find what is my shunt resistance. Okay. Then next comes how to convert the galvanometer into a voltmeter. Okay. So next heading is conversion of galvanometer into a voltmeter. Okay. So the way we had taken the help of a shunt, here we will take the help of a high resistance. Here we will take the help of a high resistance. We'll take a high resistance. And how it is to be connected with the galvanometer? This high resistance is connected to the galvanometer in series. Okay. Then how will you get? How can you draw the diagram? We have a galvanometer G here, and to this we have connected a very high resistor. Okay. We denote it by same S only, but here this S represents the high resistor. Okay, high resistance. So this whole will give you shunt connected in series, high resistance connected in series with the galvanometer will give you the voltmeter. Okay, this will be your voltmeter. Correct. So this is the current Ig which is getting into it. So how can I find out this high resistance? It is used by a formula. S is equals to V by Ig minus capital G. So by this formula you can find out a high resistance. Okay, the high resistance which is connected in series. So this is all about the basic theories which are required for this particular chapter, moving charges and magnetism. So this is it for today. I hope you all must have enjoyed this class. Please do not forget to subscribe my channel. And if you have any queries, you can mail me in the mail ID which is given below. Okay. Thank you for your kind patience.